C2 Wrestling Podcast, CTD and Snowden. The boys are back. Subscribe or you are a coward. Like the video or you are a double coward. I don't have much else to say besides that. This past weekend, we had Survivor Series, a massive, massive PLE that gave us plenty to talk about, good and bad. It had plenty of people talking. We'll talk a little bit about it. We already did a breakdown and we've had Monday Night Raw. If you haven't seen those videos, go back and watch them. But what hasn't been talked about that we will get into right off rip is I'm the new C2 Wrestling Predictions champion, the host of this podcast. That's right, honorary Oos Alec. His reign ended. So I say this as your C2 Wrestling champion, Snowden. How you doing today?
Well, let me start off by saying you are C2 champion for now. All right. Let's see you hold on to that title past the Royal Rumble, buddy. Okay. That's a tough one to defend the championship at. So good luck, but I'll see you there. All right. How am I doing? I am in typical Snowden fashion, a mess. I am congested as could be. My back is killing me. I'm hungry. I know, it's a lot of things, but wrestling, it's a lot going on right now, for good or for bad. We're still in this build to John Cena's retirement, so there's a little bit to look forward to. Post that is the Rumble. I've mentioned it many times in the last couple weeks, couple months that this is kind of the point I've been waiting for. Get past Crown Jewel, get past Wrestle Snalooza, get past War Games, Survivor Series, and now we're in this kind of run of Rumble build, a little bit more merit into everything that's going on in wrestling now. Once we do finally get past this John Cena tournament, we really are established into not only the road to the Rumble, but the road to WrestleMania. So we're really kind of getting there. Things are starting to spice up a bit. There is a little bit of fallout from War Games to get into. Like you said, we already talked a bit here and there. Go check out those videos, or else you're a coward. But we're going to talk about it again. So, like this video as well. A little bit more, though. There's a lot of news in wrestling. Who's the mask guy that came out at War Games? John Cena's retirement opponent in the finals. We got a new TV deal for total nonstop action to talk about. So I'm looking forward to this podcast. What do you want to get into?
Oh, there's so much to get into. I do want a victory lap about my championship title win for a second. We do predictions on this show, or on this podcast, and I finally took the title from the honorary Oos Alec. But as you mentioned, the Royal Rumble will be a tough, tough PLE to defend at. We will make crazy predictions. That's going to be a very fun video that everyone's got to tune into. Also, a podcast that we have to do before the end of the year. Let's see how the schedule turns out. I think it should be January 2nd, should be the release date, or January 1st. Is that the Thursday? January 1st, New Year's Day? Release date. It will be the second edition of the C2Es. We have to do our year-end awards. Works out perfect that the final day of the year is the first. So before you watch, college football and as you're a little hungover or stomach's full from all the food you ate the night before, you'll have to tune into the Tuies to see who wins the awards. It was so much fun last year. We'll do it again this year. We'll start coming up with our nominees because there's going to be some people that we talk about today that are going to be nominated for some awards. And I think one person that's going to be in nomination that I would like to talk about starting things off is Bron Breakker. On Monday Night Raw, he got his best promo so far. And we didn't really dive too much into it because there really wasn't much to dive into besides the fact that he has his match announced January 5th, facing CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Hilarious that like 24 hours before the report was Bron Breakker's going to face CM Punk at WrestleMania, and that is just not the case. I am interested from Raw, that wasn't talked about much, this masked man and the kind of playing dumb from Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. With this match being set up for January 5th, I think that might be when we do get the masked man, either his reveal or his return. Like, I don't know if they'll just straight up reveal him right there, but my gut tells me we see he or she or it, whoever it is, again on January 5th, and it's to help Bron Breakker win the world championship.
Yeah, I'll start by saying it's a he. I don't know what big body female climbed that cage at War Games and, hit a stomp and whatnot.
Hey,
But
that one chick from LFG, she's a
yeah,
she's built like a brick shit house. She
yeah.
can move cheerleader, like she can move
Uh,
like that too.
yeah, I guess you never know. I don't think Alexa Bliss snuck into the ring during War Games. But January 5th does seem like that's the time frame for the reveal. I am a little like, I kind of wish they got to it. I almost wish this person unmasked themselves at War Games, if not the following Monday Night Raw. I think they don't want it to overshadow or be undershadowed by the John Cena retirement tournament. There's a lot going on still within that. That's really the biggest thing in wrestling history to a point. It's John Cena's retirement, so it's easy to overshadow or undershadow with that. And January 5th is a little bit of ways out, though. We're still a little over a month. So that's a couple week build of waiting and waiting and waiting to get this reveal. It better be revealed by at least January 5th. I don't want him coming out and not unmasking at that point. Driving that all the way to the Rumble or the Chamber or whatever is way too long, way too far. I'm all about long-term storytelling, but that is just dragging it unnecessarily long, in my opinion. There is a bit to talk about within just that title match itself, though. I believe I already said this, but I'm not crazy on Bron Breakker's first big title win happening on a Monday Night Raw. I do think that holds a bit more value and should be at a PLE, especially when you're 2, 3 weeks away from the Rumble. I know the Rumble's in Saudi, so it could be better, but it still is the Royal Rumble. That's on paper a big PLE. I'd rather Bron win it in front of a U.S. crowd. So pros and cons to it all. But we're also not far off from the Chamber, which is in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown, of course. That'd be a great moment for Bron Breakker. The bigger point is it all leads into WrestleMania. An eventual potential return of Seth Rollins. Do we get Seth Rollins versus Bron Breakker? Is that the Mania match? Dave Meltzer was wrong again. It is not looking like it's Bron Breakker versus CM Punk. Could they run it back? Possibly, but I don't think that's really the goal right now. January 5th, though, is already shaping up to be a big Monday Night Raw. 1 year anniversary of Raw on Netflix. I'm sure they'll add more to that card to kind of spice it up, but I'd be surprised if the masked man doesn't help Bron Breakker win the championship to some degree.
That feels like the perfect spot for the reveal and the moment of Theory joining the Vision, just for the fact of how close you are to the Rumble, the Chamber, Mania build. At that point, you can have Theory and Bronson Reed kind of established as a tag team. He's an established member of the Vision. And the Vision's whole goal for WrestleMania is to take all of the titles, whatever. They can go into Mania either as champions already or going for the titles. So it kind of works out for getting the Raw tag titles on WrestleMania, getting a tag title match on WrestleMania that's more than 35 seconds, and having like an actual story to WrestleMania for Monday Night Raw. So when WrestleMania comes and goes and you go to that Raw after Mania, you're kind of into that new story of what the show is, whether that's the Vision have all of the gold or the Vision reigned supreme and now they're going to get new challengers, whatever it may be. It kind of sets up nicely for that next run through the calendar for what Monday Night Raw will be. Now, if they don't do it at the Rumble and they do it at the Chamber, you could still technically have that happen. But, or sorry, if you don't do it at Raw and you do it at the Rumble or Chamber, you could still technically have like the Theory build with the tag titles, whatever. But I just don't need it going that long and then feeling it kind of being quick on the other hand, where 3 weeks later, him and Bronson Reed win the tag titles or something like that. It's just a little much.
Mhm.
I feel like January 5th could be kind of that sweet spot, but I know they love long-term storytelling. When done right, it's great. But I mean, look at the Judgment Day. Like, some of it, it's like this has gone on for too long. The Masked Man story, especially because we all pretty much know who it is, this does not need to go on more than a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. In the hypothetical that let's say Bronson Reed and Austin Theory capture or take on, say, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee at WrestleMania for the tag team titles. 2v2 tag title match WrestleMania. Would you rather it be sponsored by Clash of Clans or Candy Crush? I don't know if they're going to drag out even the tag titles that far. I think the goal is maybe to have all the gold on the Vision by WrestleMania. Maybe the Intercontinental title might still be floating around elsewhere because there's some storylines involved in that. But I do want to bring up a little bit just the Vision as a stable as a whole. Like I am still a little indifferent on it. Don't get me wrong. Fucking love Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, love Seth Rollins, Logan Paul even being added. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but it's fine. The addition of Austin Theory, we've been calling for that way before people were calling for that. You know, I still though wish we had the version where it was Seth, Braun, and Bronson. It's tough off the back of the Seth injury. I get it. But it feels like we got kind of snubbed a little bit from the legitimate version of what the stable is supposed to be. It's kind of similar to Edge's Judgment Day. You know, we got kind of snubbed. That turned out to be okay. Don't get me wrong. Hell, it turned out maybe better than it ever could have for a guy like Damian Priest. He ends up getting a world title run. So great for him. But I really liked the vibe they had going with Seth, Braun, and Bronson. I wanted Braun and Bronson to win tag title gold. And they're kind of skipping that level with Bronson Reed, or Bron Breakker, I should say. But the point is Bronson Reed, though. How does he not also feel ready for championship gold? Like, why wouldn't he just turn on Bron Breakker and go for the world title himself? He's the one that beat Roman Reigns. So is he like I almost find it a little bit flawed. I want them to stay together. I don't want them to break up, but I almost find it a little bit flawed that Bronson Reed is just gonna like let Bron Breakker run with it.
I think my only like gripe with the Vision is they're still yet to feud with anyone new. I mean, and even even though this Rollins injury, when he comes back, it's going to be like a whole new layer. In theory, in Austin theory, that is nice. Like that is going to be it's a built-in story already, but it's still the same people. Like it essentially has been the Vision right now. I won't fully include Logan, but he's already had notable feuds with these people that I'm about to mention. Roman Reigns, the Usos, somewhat Cody Rhodes, now Seth Rollins, CM Punk. Like that's really been it. Like they had a little bit of tiff here with, Penta, and then it kind of dies out. LA Knight, and then it kind of dies out. I think I need the Vision. Like I need Bron Breakker to beat CM Punk. And I just need something completely fresh for him. I know people will want an LA Knight. I don't want to sit here and start screaming about a brand split again, but I just need something different. He needs a new feud. Bronson Reed needs a new feud, like Logan Paul, whatever. Whether it's faction on faction, I don't care. It just needs to be someone that isn't these same few people. And like if we're getting the Raw after Mania, I can deal with they're paying off at Mania Bron Breakker versus Roman Reigns, and that's what the big buildup is for. I'm fine with that. But if we go Raw after Mania and Seth returns and they're going into Bron Breakker versus Seth and Austin Theory and Bronson Reed are facing the Usos or something like that, it's going to feel like the same Raw that we've seen for the last 2 months. I need something new here. I need some new faces, anything. And I think that would really help the Vision. It kind of reminds me like the Bloodline was obviously like all in all very good, but they had their spurts where, Roman was only around here and there. They were facing the same people for a strong minute where it was like, all right, I don't need an Orton and Riddle versus the Usos anymore, or Owens, Orton, and Riddle, whatever. It's like the same combination. It's like, man, I need something fresh for when AJ Styles faces him or LA Knight faces him. It's like, thank God. I'm already feeling that with the Vision, and it's too quick to be feeling that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of took the words from me. I was going to go right to a draft. You know, we need a draft. We need a brand split. That's really like the best way to spice it all up. I would love to see the Vision get into some entanglements with guys like Ilya Dragunov, Damian Priest, Aleister Black, just some fresh names, maybe there's some heel versus heel action in there, don't get me wrong, but still something a bit more fresh than the Jey Usos of the world and whatnot. LA Knight, I still think is great and does deserve a title run. So I wouldn't hate him still being involved at some point, but maybe he has to step away and get brought back in eventually. Uh, I was actually going to mention this about the tag titles too. Again, in the idea that Bronson Reed and Austin Theory eventually capture tag title gold, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee are a great team. They're not going to be a tag team forever. AJ Styles' retirement run coming up. There's no counterpart to the Vision being tag team champions. There's no big babyface team to really take them on right now. All the teams are either heels or they've really kind of run their course. Fraxium, I guess, would maybe be the team that most fits the bill to add a point, have that like longer term feud with the Vision, and maybe take the tag team gold off them in the long run. But outside of that, the Street Profits have ran their course to a point. The Wyatt Six and MFT are in their own thing. They don't really on paper look like the factions or teams to directly feud with the Vision. There's no other tag teams right now that would be the big counterpart. So it does feel like we might get some holdovers of the Vision versus War Raiders and so on and so forth, but it's just recycled. It's going to be Bronson Reed and Austin Theory taking on tag team combinations of Jay and LA and Jimmy and so on. Uh, I don't hate Penta finding himself in the mix. Obviously, as long as he's healthy, him and Ray Phoenix teaming up, reforming the Lucha Bros is probably the answer to the counterpart of the Vision. Penta found his way in there a little bit, but he wasn't totally mixed up like LA and Jay were, so he's still a bit more on the fresher side. But the Vision is really the focal point of WWE right now. Cody Rhodes is world champion on the other side. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of merit in that. But the biggest, freshest thing going on in wrestling right now is the Vision, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman. I guess now Logan Paul and Austin Theory. It is all crazy. It circles around CM Punk being world champion. CM Punk is our world heavyweight champion. It's nuts. I've also mentioned this in the past few weeks. I do love that Punk is champion, but I feel like it didn't come the way it should have, for CM Punk. Of course, again, you can't plan for the Seth Rollins injury, but I am going to double back and I love CM Punk as champion, but I think LA Knight should have been the guy then and there because the eventual Punk title win or Punk is still chasing that title feud with Bron Breakker and the Vision, I think would have held more worth. I don't know. CM Punk as champion is fantastic. Him beating Jay for the title wasn't the moment I think everybody wanted it to be. And now we're kind of stuck in, like you said, this recycled Vision versus Punk LA Jay feud post WrestleMania. I'm sure we're wrong and they're going to come up with something, but I don't know. I would like to see an AJ Styles get in the mix. Retirement run, AJ Styles versus Bron Breakker. You got to run that as like a one-on-one feud before AJ is done.
Yeah, there's plenty of options that would be fresher. It does really need to start though with a new brand split. I mean, we're really at the point with Raw where it's kind of slim pickings. I mean, I even think of like Stephanie. Stephanie is probably going to face Liv Morgan on this January 5th. I think that that seed was planted. They'll probably do Liv versus Stephanie, Bron Breakker versus CM Punk. I don't see Stephanie versus Rhea happening right now. And then it's like there really isn't much else for her out there that's like kind of got that star power matchup right now because there's just everyone's kind of faced everyone or they're in the mix with each other or whatever. That next feud does not seem that close. You can say the same thing about the men's. Like we are reaching that boiling point with a lot of these stories. Punk, Braun Breaker, it's been going on for a hot minute. Yeah, they haven't just one-on-one faced, but I mean this even dates back to the gauntlet match. Like this has been going on for quite a while between the two. So now you start looking at it when this does happen on January 5th. I don't think it's just going to be a one off. Like, I think they'll face again, probably at the Chamber. At that point, I mean, that's the middle of February or towards the end of February. That's, 2 months from now, 2.5 months from now. It's like, man, that feels really far away for a story that we've already gotten for quite some time. That kind of needs to be, I don't want to say wrapped up, but wrapped up. Like let's kind of get a move on here with something fresher. Now you mentioned LA. He kind of really falls into the kind of where he always is. I have no clue what they're like about to do or going to do or plan on doing with LA. I mean, there's all this stuff that we're talking about where we're like, oh, this has been going on for a while, this has been going on for a while, whatever. None of it involves LA Knight, and all of these things are still going to get paid off. I don't even like you could offer me $1 million and tell me the most likely WrestleMania opponent for him. You have to get it right. I have no idea who his most likely opponent is.
Yeah, LA Knight is probably like the hardest person to book out from here on out. I think I can kind of come up with an idea on paper for everybody else, but LA, it's a little bit of a question mark over his head. Again, a lot of things hinge right now on Seth Rollins and the potential of him coming back. Is the storyline Bron Breakker wins the title on January 5th, defends it against CM Punk in Chicago? Seth Rollins returns, but helps Bron Breakker win. Two storylines at once kind of screws over CM Punk. That feud can continue, but also helps Bron Breakker win in the sense of I want my title back and I'm taking it from the guy that took my title, essentially. CM Punk might have been the first champion after Seth, but he didn't really take it from Seth, where Bron Breakker was walking around with that title after the Seth injury and after he turned on him. There's so many questions going into WrestleMania. Again, LA Knight's a big question mark, but the vision, the world championship, we are really like also hinging on the idea that it is Austin Theory. I am 99.99% confident it is, but I've seen some fantasy booking. Tony D's name still coming out of people's mouth. I've seen some people say a great swerve would be a Montez Ford, and I actually don't hate either of those options, but grand scheme of things, long term, pillar of the company, next big thing, Austin Theory. We've always been on the Austin Theory train. And I think that is a great addition and a tweak to the upcoming storylines. We've seen Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker and Seth feud with Punk, Jay, LA, Roman, and whatever for so long now. Adding Austin Theory to that adds a little bit of a twist to it. Little bit of a side tangent to Austin Theory, but does Grayson Waller get a little bit snubbed in it? Should Grayson Waller also be a part of the vision? Should he be in place of Logan Paul? Should it be Theory and Waller, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker? Like, does that fit a little bit better?
They split.
Yeah, I know, but like the way they split too, and they were going to split. We were waiting for the Theory eventual turn, but in the hindsight of things, they never had to split at that point because Theory went away with an injury. So like Waller went and did his own thing, and he's been fantastic. But I feel like Waller just would have been a great fit to still be paired with Theory and be along inside that. The vision is intriguing right now. It is again a little bit recycled, but we're getting there. January 5th, the latest again for this reveal. I can't be waiting until February or something, 2 months from now, to see Austin Theory take this mask off to actually get another layer to this story. There is a possibility it's Theory versus Punk at WrestleMania. We've tossed around Punk versus Logan, Bron Breakker versus Punk, Seth versus Braun, Seth versus Punk could still happen. There's so many other guys that I don't know where they fit in the mix now, though, with Roman and LA and Gunther and Cody and Sammy and so on. It's a lot of questions. We keep kind of saying this is how WrestleMania 41's build was, and it was a great build for a lackluster event. I think they know this year's WrestleMania, back to back in Vegas, they can't fuck it up. I think they're going to deliver, but that does kind of worry me for the coming months. I think they are slow booking out a eventual big thing or big things to happen at WrestleMania, but it might feel like it's going to take us a while to get there. So the build this year might not be as electric, but I think the actual event itself in WrestleMania is easily going to top last year's.
So I'm glad you started talking about WrestleMania 42 because we have one massive rumored match and it's been a bit of a talking point and I feel a lot of people feel pretty strongly about this. So end of Survivor Series, we assumed reports were that, you're going to get kind of a clear look on what the plan is for Mania. And a lot of people left Survivor Series unhappy, whatever. That's a completely different subject. But a lot of people left Survivor Series saying that we're getting Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 3, and it's going to be the trilogy, and it's going to be the main event night 2, whatever. And immediately, there's some division on social media about it, and I think it's actually quite fair. Normally I'm more like, oh, everyone needs to chill out, whatever. I don't know if I really need Roman Cody 3 just yet. And we know they need to hit not just a home run, they need to hit a grand slam with this WrestleMania. They need to pitch a perfect game. It doesn't like to me, I could very well see them being like, hey, we just got to go back to old reliable. 39 and 40 were so great. We got to go back to that and pay off and have this trilogy and do it now. What like I just that to me would kill a lot for me in this upcoming Mania. And it's not because I don't like either guy. I love both of them. And I love them having this trilogy matchup. Just not yet. Like it just to me it feels so forced and so like not necessary out of everything that's gone on. Like I find it wild that there's a genuine chance we get the trilogy of Roman Cody before we even get the legit rivalry of Cody Randy. That to me is like, how does that happen? Now, these are just rumors, but if that comes true, I wouldn't be thrilled about it.
I wouldn't be thrilled about it either. I am definitely not on board for Roman Cody 3 quite yet. I'm a little worried there in the mentality of if not now, then when type thinking with that third match. It's hard in a way to go WrestleMania 43 will make it happen then because anything can change between now and then. It's tough though because I am so sold on the Gunther boat right now of Gunther retiring John Cena, winning the Rumble, taking the championship from Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. I think that is the plan, should be the plan. I think Gunther then goes on to defend the title for a while. I think he goes on at SummerSlam to defend and beat Brock Lesnar. I don't think he needs to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania after defeating John Cena in his retirement match to like earn the title shot. I think Gunther can retire Cena, win the Rumble, and then go on to win the championship. Uh, him, I think, being champion and beating Brock Lesnar, potentially even retiring Brock Lesnar, who knows, I think then really establishes Gunther as like the guy to beat, the next tribal chief, whatever new moniker they come up with, the ring general, whatever they're going to stick with or call him. He becomes like this unstoppable force that the eventual baby face, lovable guy will defeat and will have a new star. Uh, it's a different level Cody beating Roman than Jay beating Gunther. I know they kind of gave that a slight test run with Jay. Uh, Pros and cons to it all, I guess, but it's a different level when you're the guy that retired Cena, won the Rumble, title at Mania, a guy like Gunther. But then the flip side, you mentioned Randy Orton. Like, where does he fit in the mix? If Gunther beats Cody, do we ever get the Cody Randy feud? At that point, like it's almost now or never with the Cody Randy feud. If they're going to go that route, Randy should win the title at WrestleMania. I really do think so. I think Cody is obviously one of our favorites, but I think his time of year plus long title runs is gone. I don't think he needs to hold the title for a year plus. I think he can be the guy to kind of hot potato the title back and forth a little bit. If they're going to go Randy Cody, you have to go Gunther Brock at WrestleMania. That's like the only other option for a guy like Gunther. So we're in the ballpark, I think, of what they're looking to do at WrestleMania. But you never know. Anything can really happen, barring any injuries, of course. We got to hope and pray that none of these guys get hurt going into WrestleMania. But still question marks. LA Knight, Sami Zayn, the Judgment Day stuff, tag titles here and there. It's a crazy build to this year's WrestleMania. I'm really hoping they pull through with it. But again, to the original sentiment of this whole conversation, it will really burn this year's WrestleMania and the build if it ends up being Cody Roman 3.
I think if they're going to do, I could play it out like this. And when I tell you this has to start like in a week or two for this to work, it has to start tomorrow or the following week. Like this cannot be, it's got to be like the Friday right before Cena's last match or something. I can see them starting this Cody Randy story. You have Cody Randy at the Rumble. Randy's pretty much gone heel. They rematch at the Chamber, and you're setting up towards Gunther has won the Rumble. He's chosen the WWE Championship. Will it be Cody? Will it be Randy? Randy's heel, so your gut tells you Randy's probably not going to win the title. Jacob Fatu is doing his whole figuring out who attacked him. His first few weeks, he's facing Drew McIntyre because he thinks it was Drew. Then after a few weeks, maybe month and a half, he figures out, finds out whatever it was Randy that attacked him. Randy was trying to steal the spot all along. You can then do Randy versus Fatu as one of your Mania matches. Gunther faces Cody as one of your Mania matches. That to me, you kind of scratch the itch of Cody, Randy, and you don't do a 6 month story that kind of gets dragged out. You do it in 2.5 months roughly. You still get into Cody Gunther. You can have Gunther win the title. You also give Cody a couple title defenses with this second title reign, then go into a very long Gunther title run. And who knows? You can maybe go into a Gunther versus Jacob Fatu for the WWE Championship at that point, and start to build like all of these really hot names going after the title that Gunther is now holding. If it is Cody Roman, like to me, not only just like the puzzle pieces for everything else, I'm thinking after Mania, no matter who wins, I don't think it's that interesting. Say Cody beats Roman and then you do Orton Cody, it's like, man, this is like a year ago that this should have happened. At that point, you're talking about the beginning of May getting this going, and you're gonna pay that off essentially at SummerSlam, 4 months later, or whatever. That feels like a terrible timeline. Who else does Cody even feud with? He then faces Gunther after Mania. It's like that. It feels like the moment should have been at Mania. If Roman beats Cody, it's like, all right, the guy's not full time. Whoever he faces, like, he's not going to face a lot of people. Most likely, it's going to be a fucking Jey Uso or a rematch with Cody or Brock. And it's like, I don't need any of this. Or Punk or Rollins. It's like, I need something fresh here. I need some of these newer guys. Like, I want Roman involved. I want Roman in these stories, but that to me, like, as crazy as this sounds, I love Roman versus Cody 3. If it happens at this year's WrestleMania, that's a horrific decision.
Big mistake if it happens at
Yeah.
this year's WrestleMania. I have a pitch coming. To get to the pitch, I got to lay a couple things out. Now, Brandy Cody is it's going to be a fang ball from
Okay.
backyard baseball, so be prepared. If Roman Cody, or not Roman Cody, Orton Cody is going to happen, that is the type of feud to me that should be 4+ months long and a blood feud. That's the feud that ends in a Hell in a Cell or something. So it's tough to maybe get that going and build it to WrestleMania. It's tough to do it after WrestleMania if Cody were to retain the championship. Um, the idea of the Rumble again, Gunther's the guy to win the Rumble now. Again, for so long it was Sammy being in Saudi, but it's transitioned and it's Gunther. Let's go with the hypothetical that Gunther is getting Brock at WrestleMania. Who the fuck do you have win the Rumble? I don't need Roman winning the Rumble.
The-
I don't need Orton winning the Rumble. I don't need Cody winning the Rumble. I don't need, then it's a really tough position, especially considering your answer there would maybe be like a Bron Breakker, but he might be champion going into the Rumble. So therefore, he's not going to win it. My pitch would be this, though: Gunther wins the Rumble. And we do get Gunther versus Cody at WrestleMania. That's the plan. Like you said, Orton Fatu can be the feud. I still can't really place a Brock Lesnar and who I'd have him go against. Maybe a Brock Lesnar ends up getting a Bronson Reed. Maybe there's some fallout within that team there. And then now you have a lot of these guys in the mix of Roman, Punk, Braun, the returning Seth Rollins, hopefully. A lot of question marks there. Again, the Seth injury all hinges on that. But it has been a while since we've had a multi-man title match at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 38, triple threat, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, Edge. Fine match, forgettable in the grand scheme of the Roman Reigns run. Sure. If you want to establish somebody, and that somebody is Bron Breakker, you do have him win the title before WrestleMania. You make him world champion January 5th, or at the Rumble, or at the Chamber. And then, however you end up getting to it, it is Bron Breakker defending his world title against CM Punk, against Roman Reigns, against Seth Rollins in a fatal four way. And Bron Breakker picks up that world title and stands tall to end the show. On night two, you've established Bron Breakker. That is your guy. That is the face of the company going forward. He just beat the three best ever to do it. And now you have Bron Breakker and Gunther as your champions on either side. So many fresh matchups there. Like you said, you pitched Fatu and Walter. Fatu and I don't know why I just called him Walter. Fatu and what the fuck am I doing? Fatu and Gunther. I think, like, for whatever reason, when I mentioned that, what came up in my mind is his debut when it said Walter and behind him. So that's what came to mind. But you have Fatu, you have Ilya Dragunov can be the clear, easy, lovable baby face to beat Gunther in the long run. Bron Breakker on the other side can hopefully get himself some new faces. You know, I'd like to see him maybe one-on-one feud with a Penta, with a AJ Styles. The eventual fallout of the Judgment Day. I don't think he should be necessarily babyface, but the cheers are heavy for a Dirty Dom. A Dirty Dom and Braun feud would go hard. There's a lot of potential there. Right now, my opinion's going to change in 35 minutes, I'm sure. But right now, if I'm booking it, if I had to put pen to paper and you can't change it, this is what happens. It plays out like that. Gunther wins the Rumble. Gunther, Cody, fatal four-way for the world title.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And also on top of it, it kind of closes the chapter for Braun with all three of those guys because I think that's my what I'm kind of like harping on. Like, yeah, Braun's got these big matchups that he needs, kind of has to have, but I don't need the next 2 years of Braun Breaker only feuding with these three people. Like, we can kind of wrap it up and he can start feuding with some other people, Carmelo Hayes, whatever. Like, he can go on to something fresh and new as champion that if this guy's going to be a top guy, he's going to have to face some of these other, I don't want to call them lesser talent or like lesser names, but he's the top of the bill. He's got to be against someone that is chasing him. Because let's call a spade a spade. I love Bron Breakker. If he wins the world title tomorrow, I'm happy. But when he faces CM Punk, when he faces Roman Reigns, when he faces Seth Rollins, it's like, yeah, if he doesn't have this world title, like he's not their level yet. He is not at that height. So he almost feels like a challenger, even though he's the champion. If he goes into Mania as the champion against Roman Reigns, it's Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, as we've said, is like he is a title in himself. It feels like even though he's not doesn't have the title, you're going for him. When in reality, he's going for you because you're the champion. So I would love that to kind of close that chapter. Uh, I did have this thought with Cody and Gunther. You mentioned like it does have to end in Hell in a Cell, and I agree.
Cody,
Like,
Cody Orton would
sorry,
have to end.
Cody
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Orton does have to end in Hell in a Cell.
Not a Hell in a Cell necessarily, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Blood
well,
feud,
I think Hell in a Cell would be perfect.
perfect fit, last man standing, some sort of,
I think Hell in a Cell kind of fits the bill.
yeah.
What I was kind of thinking while you're saying that, I could see that being the case. I could also see it being the case, and the title is no longer in the picture.
Mhm.
Like, I could see this feud kind of starting while Cody is still champion, and it has the little diversion of Cody is facing Gunther at Mania, Orton is facing Fatu, whatever, and they kind of get back to it after because that's such a mega feud. And yes, it does need to be for the title. But if it starts when the title is involved and gets to the point where not that the title is secondary, but the story itself is so big it doesn't need the title, you can get to that point where post Mania, they're wrapping up this feud and the title isn't in the picture. This is just strictly blood feud, bitter rivals, needs to be settled, Hell in a Cell. Both guys are going to get busted up. And it's now this massive story that you have on your show that isn't even for the title. And the show itself feels even bigger at that point.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I guess with a guy like Orton, though, is he's a guy that is deserving of another world title run, if not two, before his time is done. And if it's not going to come off the back of beating a Cody, I don't know if he'll get that final title run. I mean, hell, he beats Cody in that Hell in a Cell, and then Orton feuds with Bron Breakker. That's a fresh matchup in and of itself. There's a lot of potential on that. Off the back of the potential fatal four way idea, that's kind of my whole pitch in it. Is I love the idea of Bron Breakker being the champion going into that fatal four way, but it's like he's fighting to win the championship. He is the underdog, even holding that title, and that's what really would establish him. Uh, Cody Orton, Cody Gunther. Gunther goes on to do other things after the Cody match, sure. Let's say that fatal four way does play out. SummerSlam, write it in the stars. Roman Reigns, Bron Breakker, one on one. Like that just seems like the inevitable follow up to that. That could also be the payoff, the final payoff of Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. We're booking far out to SummerSlam. I did want to bring up this point too. An odd mix into all of this. We're booking pretty far out here, don't get me wrong. Money in the Bank is until September next year. So there's no like caveat of somebody has to win this in June and they can cash in at any point. So they have to kind of book strong here until they have a little bit of like an ace up their sleeve in the Money in the Bank. So you need some solid builds here, some solid feuds. This is maybe a random question on top of all this, but I got to ask because I just want to see what your thought would be. If it can't be Gunther, it's not going to be Roman. It's not going to be Punk. It's not going to be Cody. It's not going to be Braun. It's not going to be Orton. Who do you have win the Rumble? If they're going to really surprise us this year, who wins the Rumble?
Hey, I mean, you got to keep it logical though.
Yeah, it
Like,
has to be. It
look,
can't be a
look,
fucking, you're not
like
going
I
to
love
have
Obafemi. Obafemi's not winning the
not
Rumble.
winning the Rumble quite yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
If it's not them, like, I mean, LA Knight is not impossible.
Not impossible. Yeah.
It would be like finally this big moment, whatever.
Sammy's
Uh,
taken a little fall off, but Sammy's still in the
yeah,
pickings there.
Sammy's still in the mix. Fatu is still in the mix, even though he's like kind of lost a lot of steam. It
Sure.
just feels like he's a guy that like he could be back for 1 week and he's just
Yeah.
gonna regain all that
His,
momentum.
his team also lost through injury as well. A little different.
Yeah, well,
Um,
also too, like when he won the U.S. title, they just didn't use
didn't
him
do a lot.
like
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't it wasn't like the fans stopped caring about him. It was just they barely did anything with him.
Yeah.
So it's to no fault of his own. Outside of those three, it kind of feels tough to think of. Dom. It would feel early.
Early for Dom. Bronson Reed, would be the other like.
Yeah, I
But
just
then
don't
you're
see
gonna
it.
then are you
Yeah,
pulling the trigger on Bronson Reed versus Bron Breakker at WrestleMania? I
yeah,
don't think
which I
so.
doubt.
Yeah, I doubt.
Um, Logan, I doubt,
Yeah, not
but I
yet.
could, but I could. I'd favor him over a large portion of the roster.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Jey Uso too? Back to back?
I
I would
think I
never.
think the fans would love that.
Yeah.
I think they would.
Yeet.
I think 4 letters, one word. I think 3 letters, one word. Yes. I actually, funny enough, would crack up at that. I would think it's
Crack
the
up.
funniest thing
Crack
ever.
up. Yeah.
Hopefully it's not Chris Jericho. I'll say that.
Hopefully it's not Chris Jericho. Yeah, I think he's returning during the Rumble, but I don't think he's necessarily winning it. But it's tough. I do think every year it's kind of like for the Rumble, it's either like one or two names are winning it, or it could be fucking anybody. And this year, there's like four, maybe a good four names that have like the potential. I don't need anybody winning it for the second or third time or anything like that. I think Gunther is the absolute answer here, and there's many other avenues for the other storylines. The Chamber this year, I do kind of hope is a defense of a championship and not a number one contenders match for the shot at WrestleMania. I think there's enough storylines going on that you can build credible feuds without a direct number one contenders match in the Elimination Chamber. But you never know. I'm pretty positive it's going to be a number one contenders match for one of the championships. So maybe that's somehow how they find their way into a multi-man match. It seems like there would be maybe a good 2 to 3 people left out if they didn't run the multi-man match for, say, the world title at WrestleMania. Still, guys like LA, Drew McIntyre, Fatu, Orton. There's just still so many people in the mix. And Jay Uso, whether people want to admit it or not, he's a big name right now. There's a lot going on. What does he do at WrestleMania? So much going on. Is Ilya going to be U.S. champion? Who gets the mid card title matches? It's just a lot of questions going in, but it all revolves around the vision still to me. That was my point a couple minutes ago, was the vision is kind of the pinnacle of wrestling right now. And I do really think they are. January 5th, we'll start to get some answers. The Rumble, we should have a much more clear picture of what's going down come April.
Yeah, a lot revolves around the vision, but I think for Mania, it all revolves around Roman. Like I've talked about that. It's like who do they want Roman to face? And then you kind of figure out the rest of it. Because if they want the Roman Braun Breaker match, they're going to do the Roman Braun Breaker match and then figure out everything else after that. If they want to do Roman Cody, they're going to do Roman Cody and then figure everything else out after that. Mainly because of the Rollins injury, as you talked about so long ago. It was pretty clear we will get Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. You know, maybe that is the moment Roman finally beats Rollins one on one. Like it felt like we were heading that way. Rollins obviously gets hurt. You divert a few ways. Not saying it's impossible we get that matchup, but I think it's pretty unlikely. So I think Roman is like he is that meme. He's the big domino that he has to fall, and then the rest will fall after him. The Chamber is interesting because it's in Chicago. Obviously it's going to revolve around CM Punk. So, given him facing Bron Breakker on Raw January 5th, you'll kind of get an idea. Say Punk drops the title and he's in the Rumble and loses whatever. All right, the main match at the Chamber is going to be Punk is trying to find his way into the title match at Mania, and it's going to be that number one contender Chamber match. Say Punk is still feuding with Bron Breakker, whether he's the champion or gets a title shot or whatever. All right, maybe the Chamber match isn't for isn't for a number one contendership. Maybe they do a mid card title is the men's chamber match, and the main event is not Roman, Punk versus Braun Breaker. Winner is going to Mania, whatever. Or maybe it is the case of like Braun Breaker's the champion and he's gonna face a bunch of guys in the chamber. I don't know, but it feels the chamber is going to revolve around Raw and the World Championship. I think it is much more likely we're getting the WWE Championship through the Rumble, which kind of is a shame in the fact that what is that now? 2 years in a row since the title has been made, and it would be 3 years in a row that the Rumble winner still chooses the WWE Championship. I know they're not trying to make the world title feel as relevant. It pretty much already is with the names that are going for it. But if still the Rumble winner picks the WWE Championship, you almost have to have the World Championship be Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk going after Bron Breakker to keep it on that same level playing field as the WWE Championship. Because why would people keep choosing the WWE Championship if the world title is as big?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, it is as big. It's bigger right
Agreed.
now. It's the bigger storyline going on. This is maybe a little bit of like a school type thought to the Royal Rumble. When you're taking a test in school, if it's A 3 times in a row, it can't be A the fourth time. Uh, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes. Who won it before Cody Rhodes? I don't even fucking
Uh,
remember.
Brock? Was it Brock before Cody? 38. 38's Mania was
Brock
Brock
won the
Roman, I
Rumble.
think.
Did Brock win the fucking Rumble? Oh my God, that's such a blur. But
I think
for
he
a
did.
reason. But we're due
Or
for
no, was it Edge?
Edge won the COVID Rumble. Yeah, so Cody won
Cody won to go into 39. Mania
39,
38. Mania 38 was Brock Roman.
was Brock Roman. Yeah, so it
So
had to be
Brock won it.
Brock. Yeah, because but then Did he? Because didn't he win the fucking title at day one?
Yeah, but he loses it to,
God, what a blur.
or they unify it or something.
Well, the title match at Mania was the unification, yeah, but and that's how I guess Brock won as champion is what I'm forgetting.
Did
What a
he?
I don't remember. What a blur. I don't know why that's such a blur all of a sudden. I'm usually pretty good with like
I th I
especially
think
like the
he
Royal Rumble.
or he that year it was Brock Roman. I know that, and
Yeah,
it's
100% it was
we get the
Brock
picture
Roman,
of
yeah.
Roman with both titles because that's when they unify them.
Yeah, it was Brock, and then Edge was before that. Drew, Seth, Shinsuke, so on. Brock is the only heel to win it in the last like 8 years. Like whatever it's been. We're due for a heel. We're due for a Gunther. I mean anybody can win it. Don't get me wrong, but at a point, you switch it up a little bit. It is a little like odd not going for the world title every year, but that doesn't bother me that much. I'm not gonna lie. I don't find much problem in that. I would much rather. I would be baffled if they had Gunther win and he decided he wants the world title. That wouldn't make much sense to me. It also is a little bit of like they are in an equal playing field, but it is a little bit of a step up for Gunther. Held that title, been there, done that. I want the new one. I want to go for the WWE Championship, the one I never held. So I want that route to be the route they go. It's a lot to look forward to. Really WrestleMania, the build is always pretty electric. I don't think I've ever really been watching a build to WrestleMania and been like, wow, this sucks. There's some instances of moments that you're like, oh God, The Rock better not interrupt this fucking match and make this not happen. But they fixed it. Everything is all okay in the world. This build, a lot of potential, but that's good and bad. They can't butcher this potential.
I'm smiling because I obviously now looked up what we were thinking. Brock
Mhm.
does win the Rumble, and he
Yep.
does lose it to Lashley, like I was thinking at the Rumble. Uh,
Oh
but
yeah,
then he
that's
wins
right.
the Chamber
The
for the
chamber. Yeah.
WWE
Yeah. Because
Championship
Lashley got like
in Saudi.
a headache or something during the chamber, right? Wasn't that the
Yeah, yeah, whatever the fucking nonsense was. But yeah, so Brock is the Rumble winner and the Chamber winner that year,
Mhm.
and he does win it at day
Woof.
one. Yeah, like but 2025,
Bad.
God, Survivor Series, worst thing ever. I did want to touch on that. Not too much because I just don't feel like bitching. Was Survivor Series the greatest show ever? No. Was it like this immaculate show? No. Have we talked in nausea about like we're ready to get through this time period? Absolutely. We went into Survivor Series with that like, all right, this is kind of the last stepping stone before we can really get going. And clearly not everyone did because there was a large uproar about it. There is uh one ask I do have of Triple H. And look, I'll text in the group chat. I like Triple H, obviously. I like his booking. Can we please, 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 please stop saying before every show it's going to be epic. It's going to be the craziest thing you've ever seen. It's going to be the most wild ride ever, whatever. And then all these people start thinking of all of these ridiculous things that they should never even have in their head. They just take a promoter promoting his own show and escalate it into something that it is not. Just don't even give them the bait. I'm just so tired of hearing the bitching about it.
So I'm kind of on the opposite take, to be honest, because it's what is Triple H supposed to say? Hey, this
Of
tomorrow's
course.
Monday Night Raw is going to be average, guys. Check it out. Like, no, he didn't say anything crazy at all. It's the people that are running with it as some crazy shit's going to go down. We knew going into Monday Night Raw it wasn't going to be some fucking Shield debut or Shield turn type thing going to happen. Like, we knew nothing crazy to that level was happening. He was asked, "Oh, it's going to be an epic Raw. Check it out." I don't think there was any emphasis on like this is a one of one Raw, the most epic thing of all time is going down. Be sure to check it out or you're going to miss out. It wasn't some crazy statement or thing for him to say. There's also a whole other company where every fucking tweet about every goddamn weekly show is the greatest thing of all time, and there's no complaints there. I do honestly think it's a little bit of the tribalism in the world of wrestling where the fans of one company are not the fans of the other, so they're gonna hate on anything they could possibly hate. Again, what is he supposed to say? The Raw's going to be good. That's not good enough. It's going to be epic. Check it out. Sure. It was a fine Raw, but like I don't really find much problem in it. The problem is again in the people making up these scenarios in their mind. If you're a logical wrestling fan, you knew going in at best we would get the Austin Theory reveal. But if you really are logical, you knew we probably weren't even getting that on Monday Night Raw, which we didn't.
Which is hilarious because Raw was really good. The
Yeah,
matches were
yeah.
really good. Like it was a
Mhm.
very good show, especially compared to some previous Raws that we've gotten. But people just got to escalate things and go crazy. The last big bit of news that we do have to talk about is our one true love, our the little soft spot in our heart. It's crossing the line. TNA gets a TV deal with AMC. The jokes on Twitter about this will never happen, yada yada, blah blah blah, whatever. Sounds like the deal will be for a pretty solid amount of money, and it starts January 15th, moves to Thursdays at 9 on AMC. I believe they are officially branding it as Thursday Night Impact will be the official name. 9
Good
to
day.
11. You can never forget it. And the first show will be live. I don't know if the rest will be live after
They
that.
they announced that it will be a mix of live and tapings, but that's typical. That's all wrestling.
Expected, they'll probably tape more than there are live. But I just cannot imagine, again, being a wrestling fan and like being annoyed by this or being like up in arms about this. Like this isn't good news. This is great news.
You know, I can imagine it if you're a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be honest. There's no reason to see that the company that to everybody was at one point the secondary company to WWE. A lot of these companies weren't a thing way back when, so it was WWE, and then the only other on-air wrestling was TNA, for good or for bad at points. To watch them get this TV deal again with the uprising they've had, WWE been a helping hand in that, but they've had a lot of increase in their own talent, their own way. They got Santana, Leon Slater. So many. I almost said Leon Edwards, but there's a lot of great talent.
Different British guy.
Yeah, yeah, different British guy. There's a lot of great talent in that company on their own right. They've earned this spot. They've earned this slot to hate on it, to give it any shit. I saw people months ago, oh, if they get a TV deal, it's going to be on the fucking worst network of all time. It's a pretty notable network, too. There's a lot of great shows that have come out of AMC, so it's very notable. To hate on it is, again, that tribalism factor. It's not floating your boat because you want one company to overtake the world for some reason. Nobody has ever wanted it. The average WWE fan that only watches WWE doesn't even want that necessarily. Like I don't understand where this whole thought process even comes from. It is great for these companies to have TV deals. Any complaining about it is just asinine.
Complete asinine. I'm very excited. Obviously, it's a whole new era in TNA. I'm like, I don't want to say relieved, but it's been talked about for a while that like this TV deal, they're gonna get a TV deal. And it kind of, got to the point where it was like, all right, we've been hearing about this for months. And they said it should be wrapped up for Bound for Glory. And then Bound for Glory came and went. And it was like, all right, where is this TV deal? And, TNA, they kind of went a little quiet the last few weeks. It wasn't, not that that's a good or bad thing, but wrestling as a whole was kind of a little quiet. So it wasn't, the most horrible thing to happen. But now they're back in the news, and I think a lot of people are genuinely happy and genuinely pumped. This kind of, I don't want to say this is the climax because they're still on the rise, but this has been coming for the last like year or two. It's quite interesting with TNA. We can pretty much pinpoint as it's going, like, all right, it's gotten a little bit bigger. All right, it's gotten a little bit bigger. All right, Nick Nemeth just showed up. Like that felt like it took it to the next level. Like now they're working with WWE. Their champion Joe Hendry is in the Royal Rumble. He's at WrestleMania. They're doing this partnership. Like you just see it kind of keep leveling up, leveling up, leveling up. This to me, it's not that It's not the time to stop and smell the roses and think job's done. Job's obviously not finished. You got to keep aiming for that next goal, aiming for that next goal. But it feels like this is the new, benchmark moment. They just had Bound for Glory do a crazy number for them. Now this and this live show, this is a big event for them. I'm sure they're going to have title matches, maybe returns or debuts or surprises, whatever. This is like that next moment where you're going to get a lot more eyes on you. They've had those shows in the last few months, the last year or two, where it's like, all right, some more eyes are on, some more eyes are on. This is their chance to keep that new set of eyes on them and like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna keep watching and I urge you to because why limit yourself to,
Mhm.
only watching one company, hell, even two companies. Just watch as much as possible and shit, you might find like, wow, I never thought I would like this wrestler or this company or this division, whatever. Give it a shot.
I'm gonna give it a shot. TNA on AMC Thursday nights 9 o'clock. I'm giving WWE a shot. You should give C2 Wrestling a shot right here on YouTube. If you don't comment on the videos, like the video, subscribe, or give us the shot, like I just said, I mean, makes me want to rip my hair out because you're such a fucking coward.
From the theater thug himself, subscribe, like, follow us on social medias. I'm posting clips out the wazoo. Your boy's finally on his grind of posting clips. Go like all of them. Go comment on all of them. Join the TikTok comments of people saying the most wild things ever about wrestling. We'll catch you guys next time.
Whoa, just take it easy, man.